Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you are passionate about AI and AI agents and AI innovations, right? So you are at the right place. Today we are diving into the most hottest and underrated area in AI, which is synthetic data. And most of the organizations, right? Uh, to generate the synthetic data is very challenge for them because without synthetic data, it's very tough to you to mimic the general world, real world problems, and you have to somehow you have to work with your dummy data. So think of like a crash test dummy of data science where you have to come up with the patient data healthcare and which you can't able to find. It's not going to be available for you outside. For that you have to go and try to run a comprehensive synthetic data using a couple of benchmarks and try to use those numerical and categorized way to generate the data. And there are like uh, ways you can mimic the synthetic data. So there are you can use y data, a best for statistical accuracy kind of a data. And if you wanted to have a synthetic data world, it's open source, you can try that and as well. So the major reason why I said like it's underrated, the synthetic data, because if you wanted to train the model, uh, which is required you to go back and try to understand the model behavior, and then what kind of synthetic data generation, and how you are going to ensuring the data quality, especially maintaining those privacy and mimic those kind of statistical properties of the real data without exposing any of your users sensitive information. Similarly, if you look at, if I wanted to generate a banking user, he might have an email ID, he might have his card number. Those card numbers are gonna be a 16-digit number, so I can mimic those static uh, synthetic data which I have those information, and I can use it to determine like to how to evaluate my model. So LLMs require a lot of synthetic data because if we are in an era of like state of art, the LLMs are really uh, rely on those synthetic data. So someone asked, right, why we require synthetic data? What is the importance of that? So most of the people, if you go to the interviews or if you go to understanding like, hey, what is the importance of synthetic data? So you can say is like the privacy, product testing and training the machine learning algorithm. And it's more data centric approach when you are trying to build with this model. So that's transforming the AI, because large language models you are not going to be trained on your production data. So for that you need to build and have the synthetic data. So how the synthetic data is going to work, it right? So you created a synthetic data and you run it and you analyze the synthetic data with your actual data comparisons and try to see is right how it's fitting in a different methods of your decision trees. So what kind of a learning purpose can use that one. And there are different techniques to of synthetic data generation. So generation synthetic data is you need to understand the data set distribution, right? How the data set is going to looks like, and what are the degree of knowledge or specific data requirement we needed. And someone asked like, hey, I wanted to create a synthetic data, but you have to know that, right? Define your problem, ask them like, hey, what parameters involved and how the distribution gonna looks like, what random numbers inputs it needs to be generate, and how this gonna run as a model, and aggregate those results, and then you utilize that synthetic data to train the models in a such a way that they can go and utilize the data, and they can go into the GAN layer, the two network, and it started understanding the context of the data and how the data is going to be generated, how the synthetic data can be trained, ensure that data identically mirror to the real-time data. All right, it should be identical. Why I said, like, I face a lot of problems when I was working with the synthetic data, because it should be it's as much as near kind of a production data. Otherwise, like, you might have to do a lot of cleanings again, and you have to do rely on a lot of vendors, and then try to again maybe fall into some regulatory things. So we have to be rely the accuracy of the synthetic data and started cleaning the data, and then to do the bias mitigation. So because in organization kind of like data, some bias is going to be there, that has to be reduced to do that. So, and that's how you have to gonna be think about synthetic data. And there is a multiple ways like you can transform these things, right? Because as you know, that data is going to be a more challenging now, because most of the AI models are already trained on the vast amount of the data, right? The corpus of the data, they already been trained. Now they wanted to be rely on the synthetic data. So I'm going to show you how can you do a synthetic data. So let me show you how to create a um, synthetic data using Python. So all you need to do is like open the Colab and type the input, the number pi, and then inform it like to generate. If you don't know that, you can give a prompt as well, because Colab node is gonna come sit right. So if you don't know, import numpy to generate a synthetic data. So it almost gonna generate it, and you given the size of the random one. If you wanted to get explanation for this one, explain, right? So it's Collab has a data science agent. It's gonna explain to you, right? So pretty detail wise. So it's generating the random integer from 0 to 10, and then it has a floating numbers 0 to 1 and floating ones. And this is how you can utilize Collab notebook. But however, it comes to the real way. So you import your number pi, and then take how to create a realistic synthetic data. So I have taken a name of the person and address and email ID, right, and date and credit card. So I just replace into the realistic kind of like a data. Then I ask it to create a synthetic data about that, and it started creating a synthetic data straight away. So it's the statistically the way you wanted to create a synthetic data, it's required as, because when you goes to the production or building any application or wanted to test application in dev environment or into your QA before the UIT, you might not have the real data. So we have to use the dummy data. Similarly, we are gonna use into the UIT as well. So that's how you're gonna do it in here. So I hope like this gonna gives you an heads up how you're gonna use a synthetic data generation. And if you wanted to share this collab notebook, and I'm happy to share with you. And thanks for watching. Yeah, thanks guys.